Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, a lot of people go off those automated valuations, like on Zillow, for example, to determine what their home value is. How does a home seller know that their home's value on Zillow is actually accurate?
Well, in my opinion, the home values on Zillow are sometimes accurate, but I wouldn't say all the time. The problem with Zillow is that they just dominate page one of Google. Everybody thinks Zillow is the gold standard for real estate and real estate values and all this stuff. But the truth is, back when the market was booming, Zillow went out and they got so emboldened and thinking they were going to take over all real estate online that they started buying up homes. They started making offers. And in the course of less than 1 year, they lost $1 billion with a B overpaying. I remember going out on appointments with sellers. And before I got there, they'd gotten an offer on Zillow and they told me how much it was. And I looked at them and said, you should take it, because I knew it was way more than what the market could command. And, it just, I don't know why they did that. I think that they were a little bit overzealous in where they thought the market was going, but they lost so much money. So are they accurate? No, their little algorithm isn't perfect. And I think they should have learned that the hard way, but they also learned that people believe the stuff that they put on there. And half the time, Zillow really doesn't know the house. They don't know all the benefits. They don't know the features. They may not know that much about the location. They don't know about views. Sometimes they get it, many times they get it wrong on the number of bedrooms and baths, the finished square footage, all these factors they really don't know. They're just averaging the price around it. And unfortunately, people believe it. So congrats on them for creating a website. However, it's not that accurate. And at the end of the day, it's not the seller, it's not Zillow, it's not the real estate agent. It's going to be the buyer that makes a decision on what the home is worth. So if you have multiple buyers vying for a home, which still to this day in my world, it happens if the seller price is right, then the seller has more choices. I just had one close yesterday that sold for $50,000 over asking price because all the stars aligned. He priced it right. Right now the average price is in the mid fives in the Colorado Springs area. And sometimes if you look at the Zillow's estimates of the values, they could be way off. They could be way high. They could be way low. You just don't know. So I wouldn't trust it. At the end of the day, the best thing to do in this market where you have 28, 29% more inventory, so that means more competition for home sellers, you have to price the home right. I get what sellers are thinking. They want the most money, and they all think if I price it right, if I price it high, I'm going to get the most money. But because of the advent of technology, that doesn't work because the buyers won't even come see it if what they see based on the online presentation doesn't match what they perceive to be its value based on what's going on in the market right now. They won't even come look at it. So the sellers that make the mistake of pricing it too high and then slowly walking the price down, according to the National Association of Realtors, actually net less money. So it's not the best case scenario. The one that I just got under contract in Briargate, the price that it has a contract for, had it been priced at that number, nobody would have shown up. It just wouldn't have happened. And it's all about getting them into the door and getting them visualizing themselves living there and being able to improve the home if they have to, or make it theirs. And that's what these sellers did. And it was a great idea. So that's why you really can't price your home according to these automated valuations, because they really don't know what the demand is going to be. They have no idea. I've seen some of these other automated valuations like realtor.com. even the ones that the banks use. So I just recently got licensed to be a mortgage broker. And part of the reason I did it was one of the companies that does pretty much most of the lending in the country, they're called United Wholesale Mortgage, has this really cool tool that they give me access to that will give an opinion of value, much like realtor.com, much like Zillow. And even that one is probably a little bit high, maybe by 3 to 5% based on what I've seen. Very rarely on the values that I pull does it hit the market exactly of where the market's going to command. So that's an indication that their valuation model is a little bit inflated according as compared to what's going on in the market right now. It's all about pricing it right. And if you price it what I call realistically versus optimistically, believe it or not, that's the way you're going to net the most money. I had a home actually in that same neighborhood in Rock Rimmon 2 years ago, and it was really fun to work with him. He was a ex-Marine infantry officer, real kind of gruff guy. And he, I said, well, what's important to you? And he goes, I want the most money. I said, okay, well, pricing it for the most money is not going to get you the most money. And I'm really sure he didn't believe me, but we had similar sales between 645 and 7. I said, look, if you price right there at just under 650, that's going to get the most activity. So sure enough, that's what he did. We went on the market. We had a huge turnout. We had 6 offers. I was so proud of myself when I presented those 6 offers because I'm like, look, it worked. And I looked at him, and I think that the highest one when I first met with him was 680. And I said, isn't this great? And he goes, no. I'm like, why not? And he goes, Barb, I told you to get me the most money. How are you going to do it? So I thought about it. I deployed one of my tactics, and it ended up selling for 20,000 more at 700. So it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. I learned something from it, and they were really, really happy. Now, why is it that some homes have bidding wars and others don't? It's just one reason. It is pricing. If you price a home on the low side, low side right now of similar sales, it's going to work. Okay. Even below similar sales, it's going to work. But if you match similar sales, it's not going to work. And that is not the only factor. There are some other factors too. Like it could be what's currently on the market right now. What is your competition? I had a home down in Fountain a few months back. And the problem, I thought that thing would fly the first weekend. I really felt like we priced it right. But the problem was nearby, this was a home that was 25 years old, but nearby there were similar homes that did not, this one's a 2-story with a basement, but there were similar homes, 2 stories with no basement, brand new, that were their competition. And so buyers are saying, you know what, I'll just get a new house, right? So, and the other piece of that is I think the builders are really good at providing incentives, like giving them low interest rates and paying their closing costs and fries with that too, to get them in the door. So it took, instead of 7 days, it took 2 weeks to get it under contract. And in the end, they were pretty happy, and they had priced it right. But you have to look at your competition and be prepared for that whenever it happens. And some people think that pricing it low, like I had somebody ask me just the other day, he's like, well, if we price it at that price, does that mean I have to accept it? And the answer is no, you don't have to accept any offer. You could pick your buyer. There's, sometimes the seller doesn't necessarily take the highest offer for different factors. It could be the time to close. It could be maybe the financing might not go through for a buyer that made a higher offer. There's all these things to think about. And that's why you really need a professional to help you when it's time for pricing and when it's time for negotiating. And that's exactly what we do with our clients. But at the end of the day, most sellers have the most success when they price it what I call very realistically versus optimistically right now in this market. Right now, with the average days on market in the Pikes Peak region being 74 days, that's a long time. That's almost 3 months waiting to go under contract. That isn't even closing. It's another 30 days on top of that to close. So if to really shorten that time frame, you need to hire somebody that knows how to do it. And that's exactly what my team does. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. I'm your host, Barb Schlinker, and the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And we're talking about why those automated valuations like Zillow and Realtor.com can be so drastically off. And next up, we're going to talk about pricing it right and how you can avoid missing out on the perfect buyer in the first 30 days. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her and her team at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, I know you and your team are home valuation experts and can help home sellers with establishing a fair price, but what are the things that make a home more valuable so that sellers can get more money when they do sell?
I get this question a lot, Richard, because people have ideas in their head about what adds value and what doesn't. As an example, some people just do an arithmetic thing where they say, well, I have this 20-year-old house and I put in fresh carpet and I put in a new furnace and I put in a new water heater. Therefore, I should add the cost of those things on top of the price. And the answer is no, not necessarily. Buyers appreciate that they don't have to take on those kind of repairs in the future. But at the end of the day, those kind of things are what I call deferred maintenance, meaning they should have been done to maintain the home. Don't expect to tack that on to the price. Some of the things that add value definitely are views, right? Views are going to add value to any home. And if it's in good move-in ready condition, I don't care what the market's doing, typically it's going to sell as long as it's priced right. And pricing absolutely is the key. It's the way you start negotiations. You know, buyers don't know the history. They don't know that you've added stuff or improved stuff. They're looking at what they can see right now, which is, okay, this home is in great shape. I don't have to do any work. I can move right in, drop my stuff, and move on with my life. Versus this one's going to take work and money, but will I take it on? And sometimes they will if it's priced very realistically. So the condition the seller controls, and I don't recommend that. People ask me, well, why can't we just give a carpet allowance? What if they don't want to put carpet in? What if they want to put luxury vinyl or whatever? I'm saying no. If you want to attract a move in the home type buyer, which is at least 40, maybe 60% of them, don't give them a credit, because the credit's just going to go towards their closing cost. The last thing people want to do is replace flooring after they just bought a house, before they move in. So make it so they can move in, drop their stuff, and get on with their lives. Some of the things that will definitely add a value enough to make a buyer make a good offer is flooring, neutral paint, kitchens, baths, yards, curb appeal, living room, and make sure you fix deferred maintenance. A lot of people think you can add those deferred maintenance things to the cost of the house, but that doesn't work. It's about what the current market value will command for that home at this time. So if you're planning to make a move, we help people do this all the time. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the best way to sell a house fast in Colorado's higher inventory market, plus Barb's hot new listings. You don't want to miss those.